Welcome to the Tim Castle Show, where I talk to courageous individuals doing inspirational things around the world. On the show today, I was lucky enough to have Eli Harwood join us for an impactful conversation all about how to deal with your trauma, parenting styles that you've picked up from an early age, and how to raise your kids with secure attachment. I think this could be one of the most significant conversations I've had on the podcast to date. Seriously, if you're a parent, or if you're an auntie or an uncle, or if you have any interaction with children, what could be more important than learning how to generate secure attachment for a young adult? This is the expert, Eli Harwood. She's got 738,000 followers on Instagram. She's a licensed therapist. She lives in Colorado with her family, and I just think she's amazing. The depth of her insights, the understanding she has around how attachment styles are formed and how to move through them, to work with them, the level of empathy and understanding, and how to deal with children that are quite hard to deal with. Sometimes you might have a child that's driving you crazy, that's making you frustrated. Well, Eli's going to talk us through how to deal with that the right way so that we build connection and understanding, and that child feels safe, and yet we can start to set boundaries that bring them through to flourish. Please take the time to listen to this episode and grab a copy of Eli's new book, Raising Securely Attached Kids. This is absolute gold. Take the time, and I promise the ROI on this episode will pay dividends for generations to come. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Eli, for joining the show. Take it away, Eli Harwood. Eli Harwood, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So good to be here.
It's so good to have you, and you are known as the attachment nerd. You're a licensed therapist who lives in Colorado, if I have that right, and you've got 3 kids, 1 and then 2 twins. So I am very much looking forward to having this conversation with you all about raising securely attached kids, the title of your new book.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to dig in with you.
I can't as well. So what was the main goal or theory behind writing the book? What brought you to this point? Because you do have a book already called Securely Attached.
Mm-hmm.
What then led you to wanting to write this book?
So my first book I wrote as a guided journal for any adult who recognizes they have insecure patterns, or they don't have that sense of, oh, I know who my people are and I know how to connect to them. Because after doing therapy for almost 17 years, I really have a sense of, these are the questions you need to ask yourself. This is the grief you need to face. This is what we know from the science about insecure versus secure patterns and how we can build those patterns. And I focused my first book on partnerships and romantic relationships, because when we have secure relationships in our lives as adults, that makes us a lot more effective as parents because our nervous systems are buffered. You know, if I have my people, it's easier to be your people, right? And then my second book, this is the book I've been like itching to write for a lot of years, but it's a booky book and it took a lot more investment and time. And I mean, really, I've been writing it my whole life in some ways. It's the book that it comes from my childhood story. It comes from growing up with an insecure attachment legacy. And a moment in my trajectory where when I was about 9 years old, my mom made a decision to change the course of my life and our lives, and hopefully the lives of a lot of other people, where she decided to heal. She was not okay. She had tons of trauma. She had a lot more significant wounding in her attachment systems than I experienced from her and from my dad. And she was on the brink of thinking that we'd all be better off without her.
Oh, wow.
And she somehow, I don't know how, because she did this somehow without support, but somehow she took the path of checking herself into a psychiatric program and getting support. And in that step, she just wrecked generations of insecure patterns of people not asking for help and not reaching out for support. And she did the thing that no one before her had done. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, she created a path of healing for herself that led her to go get her degree in counseling. She got her master's in counseling later on after that. She didn't actually start practicing until she was 65. She joined my practice later on in life, but she really set the pace for me to begin looking back at our inheritance, at our attachment patterns, and
Mhm.
going to therapy in my 20s and recognizing how my insecure pattern was affecting my relationships and then becoming a therapist. This is like, how long do you have is really like, I'm not sure what you thought the answer to this question would be, but it's very personal for me. I mean, it's both my life and my healing, and then it's professional in that I became a therapist and I have been doing this with my patients for a very long time. And then I started running my mouth on the internet because I really want people to understand we know the science around this. This is not a mystery. There are clear things that we can be doing to create secure experiences for our kids. And in that process, I felt like it's time for a book. It's time for people to have something that they can go in depth with, not just a 1.5 minute reel, like really get into this information, understand it, and get practical tips on how to apply it. How do you actually make this happen in your relationships with your kids?
And that's definitely what I want to dig into because I think as parents, and obviously we're both parents here, and there's many parents who'll be listening to this, and a lot of the audience, they're entrepreneurs or they're business people. They've got
Mm.
massive careers going on, but there's one thing that they really want to do, and that is create a lasting bond with their kids. They want kids to grow
Yes.
up confident and to feel okay, yet
Hmm.
the pressures of life, the stress, I
Hmm.
think from work, from comparison,
Yes.
from all of these things, like being real, even with that intention, it's hard. I find it's hard.
Yes.
So how does
Yes.
it play out? Because it's hard to actually get that to happen because you blow up or you don't do the right thing or you just need your kid to do this right now and they don't and it gets worse. And like, what are the steps you go through to controlling you like, where would you start with all of that? Because I feel like that's the cycle people are in.
Yes. Well, let's start with I want to manage everyone's anxiety because maybe there is no topic on earth that is more anxiety provoking than am I doing right by my kids? Right?
Mm.
Like that is our heart and soul. And so as we come into this conversation, we're all going to bring with us a bit of panic. Like, am I fucking them up? Right? That's the fear. So I want to reassure everyone that the attachment experience is flexible, it's changeable. So as
Mm.
we talk about things today, I might say something and you go, "Oh crap, I've not been doing that. I've been forgetting to do that."
Mm.
Take a deep breath. You don't need to go into catastrophic thinking. You can just go into relief. Oh, I can start doing it now. Like these things are never too late to apply. I've seen powerful things happen in people's lives when they, as adults, have parents who start like your parent could be 75, and if they're willing to put in the work to change the way they relate to you, that's magic. It's so healing. So okay, so we're all going to come to this conversation knowing that A, it's never too late, but B, this process does not require perfection. So in the data, this is specifically data we have from Ed Tronick, who's done a lot of incredible research. He created something called the still face experiment, and he did longitudinal studies on it. From his research, observing parent-child relationships, parents who can be categorized as secure, so the relationship between the parent and child is secure, are in sync and connected with their children between 30 and 50% of the time. So that's not a lot, folks.
Okay.
That's not all the time. That's not even, you don't even have to get a B plus, right? It's like this is a pass fail thing we're doing here. and if we come into it with that reassurance of it's not my job to be perfect and I can start improving on any of these things at any point in our juncture, that's actually going to help us be more secure for our kids because we're not entering into the project hyped up on fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the first step to just decompress, to get rid of that anxiety because we're not trying to be perfect.
Nope. And it's not, and we don't want to be desperate, right? So we're coming in with like, I'm going to do the best I can with what I learn, and I'm going to be learning ongoing. And this relationship dynamic, it's constantly changing. I was just observing my 4.5-year-olds this morning and how they've made some kind of a leap. And there's this shift in what they're needing from me, even from honestly last week. Right?
Whoa.
So we're, can we have the grace for ourselves to go, this is like a PhD program we're in. We're going to be learning as we go. We don't know yet all of the things. And there are a few things that we do know. And that's what I'm going to give you all today so that you can put those in your pocket. But in general, our job is to start out going, I'm going to do the best I can. I don't have to do it perfectly. And it's okay if I miss some things because there will always be an opportunity to apply new learning later on. That's how this thing is going to go.
Mm. And it's a mindset you can keep coming back to when you get tripped up
Mhm.
and you forget that. And it's like just coming back
Yes,
to that base point. And I suppose, does that work for adult relationships as well? Just to, or
absolutely.
yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And honestly, the more we practice that, the more we offer ourselves sort of that calm reassurance and compassion, the more likely we are to offer that to our people. Right. So then when they're flubbing and they're off, it's a lot easier to go, it's okay. This is part of the gig. We're going to get through this. And that's
Mhm.
so important in the messiness of human relationships because it's messy.
That's true. It's true. So then how do you move? So there's different attachment styles.
Mhm. Yep. I call them patterns only
Okay.
because we experience patterns in our childhood relationships, and we usually have more than one attachment figure, right? We usually have multiple parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or teachers or caregivers, nannies in our lives. And so we learn patterns, and each of those relationships, we tend to learn a slightly unique pattern based on the mind of the caregiver. So, what our caregiver can offer us is going to affect the way in which we relate to them. And so we can have different patterns with our mother and our father and our other caregivers. So when we think about styles, we think about as an adult, we may have sort of clung on to one of those particular patterns as our primary way of coping, and it might be the most likely version of how we relate in our close relationships. But usually we have more than one. Usually it depends on who we're with. And if you think about, your close friendships, dating relationships that you've had with different people, my guess is that you acted differently within each of those relationships based on the other person's capacity to be connected, to be warm, to be responsive, to be calm, right? So we're thinking about patterns in childhood. And when we as a parent have learned secure patterns, which involves dealing with our past insecurities and healing some of that stuff. I always feel like I have to apologize as a therapist. I'm like, I'm sorry. I really want to tell you like that this is a quick fix, but oftentimes it involves your own healing, looking back at what happened to you. What was your experience relationally and allowing yourself to feel the feelings around that so that it's not active in the present, so that you get it out. If I get to be sad that my parents were very dismissive of my relationships or my needs when I was younger, and I actually cry those tears and I actually acknowledge that there was this absence of support, well, then when I come into parenthood, I'm less anxious about being supportive to my child, or I'm less disconnected in those moments of emotion because I've already processed what it was like when I didn't have a calm, supportive person. And so I'm more likely to be a calm, supportive person in the present.
It's funny how that works. So reconciling then with the past is another important step.
Yes. Um, but, the reality of our patterns is that we all have evolved different patterns based on our relationships. So if you think back to your own childhood, you fall into one of four categories. And we know this fairly definitively. Like there is a boatload of research on this that across cultures, across countries, across generations, we fall into one of four patterns of coping in our attachment relationships. So we'll talk about secure first, just because that's our goal. So I want you all to like get this emblazoned into your brains. But if we are lucky enough to be born into the arms of caregivers who are warm, relationally warm, highly responsive, emotionally attuned, and regulated or calm and confident in themselves. Those are four big key things. People put a lot of work in to earn those traits. So just everyone take a deep breath. We'll get you there. But if you're born into that, you will develop a secure pattern of reaching for your caregiver when you are tender or in distress or feeling overwhelmed or feeling lost. You will seek your caregiver. You'll seek proximity to them. And then in the presence of your caregiver, you will feel soothed because that relationship operates as a safe haven for those tender moments. And then after you feel soothed, you go play again. It's like you recharge your confidence and your battery and your regulation. And then, this in and out. And, this changes across stages. Like young children seek us out a lot, right? They're looking back, 1 and 2-year-olds want to have their eyes on us at pretty much any given point in time in a situation that's new or novel, right? But 4-year-olds might be a little more likely to focus on the playground equipment, and then our 7-year-olds. And so it evolves over time to the point where with our teenagers, we're like, hey, do you remember me? Do you remember me? I'm feeding you, I'm clothing you. Hi. But this sense of, I can rely on you. That's what a child who has a secure attachment with a caregiver feels. I can rely on you. I can go to you and get what I need, especially in those emotionally dysregulating moments. In the insecure categories, we have 3 options that we might fall into in our different relationships. And just FYI, as I talk about this, I'll tell you what my relationship with my mom was, what my relationship with my dad was. So the first I'm going to describe, we call it a resistant or ambivalent insecure pattern. And this is what happens when we have a caregiver who is intermittently available to us. So sometimes they are able to soothe us and effectively respond in ways that make us feel like they are a safe haven. But at a volume that is confusing to us, they aren't always able to do that. And, we talked earlier about the 30 to 50% of the time. This would be much lower than that. So this would be like 5% of the time, 10% of the time. Okay. So there are these occasions when our caregiver is calm enough, connected enough, and attuned enough that they're a safe haven. But something else gets in the way. And what I usually see in these situations are caregivers who are struggling with untreated mental illness of a moderate or a mild nature that goes in and out, or are in an abusive relationship. So like when the abusive partner is in the room, they are not available. But when that partner's at work, or they get to have a little bit of time before bed, when the partner's, passed out on the couch, they then are available to us. So the experience is, I don't know for sure when I'm going to get what I need, but I think I might get what I need here. Mm-hmm. And the pattern that develops is a hypervigilance pattern. So rather than the child reaching for support when they need it, the child is constantly trying to maintain connection and contact with the caregiver, a clinginess. Because if I let my eyes off of you, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get you back again. And so they also don't soothe. So that secure child reaches and then receives the presence of the caregiver and feels re-regulated. This resistant child is clinging, but not actually finding that presence or that contact to be soothing. So they don't leave that obsessiveness. In adulthood, this pattern, we call it preoccupied attachment. Do you love me? Do you love me now? Do you still love me? Are you sure you love me? Well, why didn't you say it like this? Well, you're only saying it because I told you to. Just like full on, I am going to survive by having as much contact as I possibly can with you. Okay. This was my dynamic with my mom.
Just a quick one to tell you about something I'm very excited about. It's the launch of my next book, The First Domino, How to Land Your First Client in 90 Days or Less. This is the book that organizations are taking their whole entire sales force through. It's all about business development. It's about growing you as an individual. It's the psychology of sales, and it's how to land your first flagship client that can change everything. Once you land that client, it doesn't matter if it's a new product that you're launching or you're a founder and entrepreneur and you need to get that big, credible client in to not only get the cash flow, but to get the reputation, to get the testimonials, to get the significance that means. This book is a playbook that you can read on the weekend and implement on Monday. It's an absolute game-changing strategy. This is all implementable advice There's domino challenges in there at the end of each chapter so that you come away from the book not just knowing how to do it, but you'll have already have done it. Let's start a chain reaction of your success. Grab a copy of the first domino today and put it into action. Let's go. It only takes one.
So the third category we call insecure avoidant. And this is what happens when a caregiver is unable to be emotionally soothing to a child. And so that could be a caregiver who is dismissive of emotions. They have a strong belief system that feelings are for wimps, and we are not doing that. And so the minute you cry, I tell you you're fine, move on, right? Don't feel those feelings. But it also might be a caregiver who is so anxious and preoccupied with you as a child that when you feel feelings, they get flooded with feelings too, and they add dysregulation to your feelings. So if I'm upset and my caregiver either dismisses me or floods me with their anxiety about my upsetness, then I cannot borrow calmness from my caregiver. And so the best strategy that I have is to stop showing what I feel on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I reach for my caregivers, I get increased dysregulation. So instead, I'm going to learn to shut down my awareness of what I feel, and I'm going to avoid showing what I feel. I'm not avoiding attachment. I'm avoiding showing what I feel, and I'm avoiding having to face that uncomfortable moment in order to stay close to my caregivers. This is a strategy for closeness. And people often think that avoidance means I'm avoiding closeness. It's actually a strategy to create closeness with someone who cannot handle your feelings. I am going to keep it inside so that I can stay near you in the most regulated way possible.
That's so clever. You're right. I see that now. You think the word avoidant means they're not around or they're trying to get away, but they're actually not. They're doing everything possible to control themselves, to keep the emotion in and bottled up so that they can stay close to that parent.
Yep. Yep. So they won't burden other people. I think when I'm working with couples in therapy and someone has an avoidant pattern, the other partner often feels rejected. Like you're not giving me the closeness I need and want. And the avoidant person is so confused because inside their nervous system, it's like, no, this is what you do to create closeness. You suck it up and you tamp it down and you say, it's fine and we'll move on so that we don't deal with some big scary thing where we dysregulate over the emotional material. And so understanding that is huge for helping that avoidant person feel safe enough to begin to bring their emotions out and have a new reparative experience with you. Like, oh, so you're not going to freak out when I bring my feelings, or you're not going to dismiss me when I bring my feelings. Holy crap, this is a whole new ballgame. I don't know how to do it yet, but maybe I'm interested. Right.
Right. That's can we touch on that? That's really important. I think that is a style that people like. You get into a relationship and then you find out that the other person's avoidant, and then you almost it's so different for the person that wants connection because they're seeking connection. But then the
Yep.
avoidant person doesn't understand what that means. Then how does that happen?
Well, and I will like phrase it was, it is so different for the person who seeks connection through direct reaching, because the avoidant person is seeking connection through avoidance. And
Yes.
I think that's,
Yeah, they're actually
right.
seeking their
So
connection.
I think when we look at all of these attachment patterns, what we are understanding is that human beings require attachment. We're caregivers. We're not a species that can do that. Like elephants and giraffes, they get born and they can like walk and forage for food. We don't have that luxury. So we're entirely reliant on our caregivers. And so these strategies, these attachment patterns are adaptive. They aren't dysfunctions. They're adaptive ways to stay close to our caregivers, or specifically to the caregivers we have, right? In order to stay alive as a species. And so the avoidant person was adaptive. They were seeking that connection in the most adaptive way possible, which is don't show what you feel and don't pay a lot of attention to what other people feel either, because that's not going to get anybody into a calm, connected place. And the preoccupied person that we talked about earlier, that resistant pattern, right? That pattern is I'm going to create closeness by never ever allowing any space. And that's not adaptive in secure dynamics. It's only adaptive in dynamics where someone is intermittent and we must watch them. We must keep our eyes on them, right? So we want to nuance for the avoidant person. Hey, you can actually bring your feelings outwards and experience a secure connection. We want a nuance for that resistant, preoccupied person. You can actually let go of this connection and it will breathe. And in breathing, it will grow stronger. That not all space is danger. And so like it's a difference between learning how to actively seek and learning how to actively receive. So that preoccupied person doesn't know how to receive. They know how to seek. And the
Mm.
avoidant person is going to have to learn how to do both. They don't know how to seek or receive. And then there's a last category. And every time I enter this category, I just feel a little bit of my heart break open because it's actually just really hard to talk about, which we consider this group of dynamics to be disorganized. And what that means is in these first three categories, there's an organization. The secure child reaches for their caregiver when they're upset and receives their presence as a soothing when they receive that presence. The avoidant child is avoiding contact when they're upset and when other people are upset, and they are distracting themselves in order to get through a flood of emotion in order to maintain connection. That resistant child is constantly seeking and maintaining contact in order to prevent abandonment. Okay. The disorganized category is what happens when a child is born into the arms or adopted into the arms of caregivers who are frightening. So there is some quality about the caregiver that creates threat. That might be a caregiver who has an abusive mindset, who believes that they should get what they want when they want it, how they want it, and they're justified to punish if not. And I mean, like, punish, like I'm going to scare the out of you if you don't do what I tell you to. Or it might be a caregiver who has a severe mental illness, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, things that create a scrambling of the mind that makes it erratic in the way that they interact. Or serious substance abuse issues, heroin, methamphetamines, like a parent who's tweaking is terrifying, right? So if you or someone was raised by a caregiver who was frightening, they had a very big dilemma because our attachment system is supposed to drive us away from the saber-toothed tiger into the arms of our caregivers for safety and regulation. But if we face the saber-toothed tiger and our only option for shelter is a grizzly bear, we're screwed. Where are we supposed to go? And so instead of developing clear patterns, poor little kiddos are left to rely on that more primal fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, those sympathetic
Mm.
nervous system reactions. And I would describe it in an oversimplified way as they either have to shut down or blow up. So they either have to find a way to hide in a cave by themselves while the feelings pass, while the saber-toothed tiger passes, so they don't wake the grizzly bear, or they have to find a way to go into like an erratic fight mode to scare off both the grizzly bear and the tiger, right? And so there's this primal trauma if you have a caregiver who scares you. And I don't mean like every once in a while. I don't mean like, oops, once I popped around the corner and scared my child on accident. Like, has a scary pattern of relating.
Eli, I totally understand what you mean. It's proper trauma in the sense that it's abuse in all the areas that there can be abuse, and the fact that there's a real grizzly bear there and there's a real saber-toothed tiger there, and you've got nowhere to go but into that cave to figure it out yourself. And that's the
Oh.
how does that then translate to someone if that is a kid that's happened to, how could you help that kid become securely attached, number one? And then secondly, what if that kid's grown up? They've
Mm-hmm.
had the grizzly bear, they've had the saber-tooth tiger, they've had to be in survival mode the
Mm-hmm.
whole time they've grown up. As an adult now, then
Mm-hmm.
how do you have relationships? How do you become securely attached again? How do you find connection?
Mm-hmm. So let's do the kid example first. Let's say, this is a niece or nephew, or, you've, you're a school teacher or something like that. The most effective way to help a child like this is to become a protective attachment relationship in their life. So this is the gift of the fact that we don't rely on just one attachment figure, is that we can be protective factors, you know? And I'm going to talk throughout this of like, what are the tangible things that we can do, but you would apply those same things to that relationship. And I would say we can't be this for every kid we encounter because it's just human life. We don't have that time. But like if everyone could like notice one child who has a disorganized pattern in their life and make a decision to like adopt a child, not literally, but figuratively, like I'm going to show up for this child. Like this is going to be a lifelong process. I'm going to do my best to help them and be there for them and be that protective factor in their life. I mean, I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
Mm. Mm.
Like that's magical. And I have thought a lot about the question of why do some people go through really, really fucked up things and come out of them with the ability to be caring and empathetic and loving towards others, and some people don't. And some people just continue those destructive, violent patterns in their world or chaotic patterns. And I really think the answer to the question is protective relationships. I think it's if you go through something really, really, really awful, but there are people in your life who are carrying calm examples of connection for you and can contain you and can witness you and believe you. I think that gives you the opportunity to seek out more caring relationships. Whereas if you never have those protective relationships in your life, I think it just gets more ingrained. You know, the terror, the trauma, the disorganization just gets more embedded, and you unconsciously create awful situations in your life because it's the only thing you know how to do is shut down or blow up. So I think really, if you see kids who you know are kids from hard places, you know, they have been born into hard situations, do what you can to be a soft landing spot for them, even if that's an hour a week, even if that's, you know, once a summer. Like be as much as you can available to show kids that every child deserves tenderness and every child deserves safety. If you were that child, if you are that adult, then the thing you're going to have to learn how to do is really hard to do. So I don't want to sugarcoat this. This is hard. You're going to have to learn how to tolerate softness and vulnerability in your nervous system. And you're going to need people to help you do that. And so I would say, you know, you have to find not just a therapist, but you have to find a therapist that you feel genuinely likes you and that you genuinely like, even if you don't trust them, because you probably don't trust anyone. There has to be a sense that like this person is trying to help me. I can feel that they are trying to help me. And you're going to do a lot of trauma work. Things like EMDR, DBT, those are like big, you know, if you Google those, what is EMDR? What is DBT? I don't want to go into those in depth, but those are, you know, evidence-based trauma treatments, somatic experiencing. Find the soft, consistent, loving, generous people around you and learn how to receive their safe, kind, present responses to you and help your body recognize a very different experience of the world in safe relationships. But it's going to be hard.
Can that happen then? Is it because you've essentially got to
Mm-hmm.
allow the thing that you've trained yourself not to, that isn't safe, or the safety to your whole world is
Mm-hmm.
different to that.
Yes. Yeah, it can happen. It absolutely can happen, but it's gonna take time.
Mm.
So just know that. But it can absolutely happen.
Yeah,
You just have to really want it. Also, you have to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be hard, but I want it, and I'm gonna do it.
I love it, Eli. I love that you're here telling people at any stage they've got a future, and you're also going to the beginning with this new book. Like it is just, I can't wait. Is it September 4th that it comes out? Is that
September 3rd.
September 3rd? So soon. Like, love it. That's
Yeah.
I think everyone should go get a copy because this is like our biggest job and our biggest
Yes.
responsibility. And we all know kids, as you've just outlined, it doesn't have to be your kid. If
Yes.
you can understand the skill of being able to help kids grow to be securely attached, you've done the
Yes.
most beautiful thing in the world. And
Amen.
likewise, you've just we're all touching lives all the time. And it just, I think
Yes.
that book, I see it behind you now with the love heart there, and it represents something that I can tell you've put your life's work into. So you just know it's going to be
Yes.
filled with that compass or that roadmap to how you actually can get what we've just been talking about.
Yes, which is what I want everyone to have. I mean, we have the science. It's been very inaccessible. It's hard to read a book called Affect Regulation, Mentalization, and the Development of the Self, right? Like the great information, but I've been working really hard to put it out there into tangible, applicable bits. Um, I want to give everybody four very simple, easy to remember things to help us. They're kind of like anchors to go back to. Am I doing these four things in my relationship with my kids? Because if you're doing these four things, you're going to be fine. So the first is lighting up. When they come into the room, I want you to light up. I want them to sense that you are physically, physiologically affected by their presence, that when they enter, you feel joy. There's some kind of magic around that experience. And we all know it, right? Like when you come over to someone's house and they're like, hi, and there is an actual lighting up, it's like, oh my gosh, they want me. I'm wanted. This is huge. So we're going to light up to show our children they belong with us and that they are delightful. Then we are going to show up. And we're going to show up in these two very important ways. Because listen, we're not going to show up every day, all day, in all the ways. That's not possible. We have to empty the dishwasher and go to work. But we're going to show up when our kids are tender. So when they are in tender emotional states, we're going to show up. We're not going to fix it. We're not going to rescue them, but we're going to say, I'm here. You're sad. You're overwhelmed. I'm so sorry about your breakup. Do you want to talk about it? We're going to offer them presence when they are tender. And then we are also going to do our best to show up for their triumphant moments. Those moments when they've, got a track meet and they're so excited to do the shot put. We're going to do our best to be there. And no, we're not going to be there every time, but we're going to try to be there as much as we can. Those kindergarten graduations, high school graduations, right? The art, exhibit that they're doing that's happening at the city hall that the school put on, whatever the thing is that they feel triumphant about. We're showing up for that and we're being their cheerleaders. We're back there going, I think you are the bomb. I'm not saying you're better than other people. We're not going to idealize our children. This is not about making them more special than others. It is about you are special to me. And I am here for those low moments and those high moments because that is something that I am built to do for you. Then we want to listen up. We want to be the type of parents that our kids feel hear them, right? We're going to take the time to slow down, get off of our phones, pay attention to what it is they're feeling, seeing, and processing about the world. And I like to call that full frontal listening, like my full face. It's not the, oh, wow, oh, cool. I mean, we all do that sometimes. But as much as we can, we want to be people our children feel heard by. Because if we have people who hear us, we can hear ourselves better. That's how it works. And we want our children to have a strong inner compass. And then lastly, when we mess up, we make up. So when we aren't doing those first three things, or we've lost our cool and our trauma came out sideways, we want to be the leaders of repair in our relationship with our kids. We want to model for them that it's okay to say, I got off the tracks. I'm so sorry. Can I get back on? Can I have a redo? I wish I hadn't talked to you like that. Or I really regret that I wasn't paying attention when you were telling me this or this. Like that process of acknowledging disconnection and then returning to connection is one of the most important relational skills we can give to our children, because they're going to have real relationships where they mess up and where other people mess up. So we want them to really know in their bones that mess ups are part of the deal, and so is repair in a secure context.
So you're modeling the behavior that to show them that you don't have to be perfect, that this is how we repair stuff. When it goes wrong, you mess up, you blow up, which I think is a big part of when you blow up at a kid, it tends to fix the situation in the sense of whatever you wanted them to do, they then do, but it damages the connection, and it's the exact opposite of what you should be doing to build secure attachment. But like, how do you get past that if that's your tendency as well? I know you're going to review in a minute, but like,
well, when I think about, like, if you are, first of all, everyone blows up every once in a while. If you blow up every once in a while, like don't worry about it. Put it in the fucking bucket. It happens. If you blow up as a pattern, if you're like, I really am agitated and on edge and I'm struggling to be calm and compassionate and receptive overall, I would be curious about several things. Are you depressed? Are you struggling with untreated depression? Because depression often comes out as agitation when we are in situations like parenting. So is there untreated depression? Are you dealing with untreated anxiety? Are you overwhelmed to the point that your system is just fried and you can't handle much because you live on the edge of fear all the time? Um, or is there PTSD here? Like, is there something going on that you haven't addressed fully because you're like, I don't want to, which I completely understand. Um, and then lastly, where are your expectations at? Because we come to every moment as a parent with expectations. You know, if I expect that my morning routine is going to be my children jumping out of bed, going ready for the day, man, where am I clothing? And how should I deal with my dental hygiene? And I'm probably going to blow a little bit faster than if I understand that, it's hard to be a kid waking up in the morning and getting ready for the day, and that they're going to need a little bit of playfulness and encouragement and visuals. And what is my understanding of what is reasonable, and do I have some unreasonable expectations that maybe got handed down to me from my family, or from my partner, or from the world around me? So what am I bringing to this moment that's making it harder for me to accept what's happening here?
I think that's kind of what you said as well, like your trauma patterns, or what you experienced as a child from your parents, and then being able to
Mhm.
break that cycle like your mom did, and actually go and get the treatment, or go and acknowledge, and then you change it for generations to come because you've healed.
Yes.
That's huge. Acknowledging that there is a route through for healing. You're just not yet choosing it. Let's go choose it. Let's make that decision.
Yes. And do what you can. I also like to tell parents that, listen, what got broken over generations is going to take generations to heal also. You're not going to heal every single little ounce of the generational trauma that you inherited, probably. You're going to heal some of it. And so my mom held a huge torch for us in going and getting help and making it a legacy in my family that it's normal to ask for help. And I've taken that torch forward, and she will tell you, if you talk to her, she's like, you've done way more than me. And I'm like, I don't think so. I actually just think, like, that particular section, like, I may be able to cross more miles on this path of torch bearing, but the reason I'm able to do that is you got us out of the swamp. And like, you can't cross as many miles in a swamp as you can on flat land. And like, you weren't abusive to me. And so I didn't have to get out of a swamp.
Mm.
Like, yeah, there was some tricky, scree. Those are those little rocks that you have to like slide up and that slide you back down every time you kind of get up them and you're climbing a mountain.
What a
I
good
had, I,
word.
oh,
Scree.
isn't that
Oh, that's an
fun?
awesome word.
I was a backpacking guide in a former life. Um, but yeah, I think do what is your part. Your part might just be getting yourself on medication so that you can function and stop saying really horrible things to your kids. Your part might be, really digging into this research and learning how to create structure that, your parents never did for you. Like, or it might be, like, wow, I inherited some really secure patterns. So I get to like kind of go into this like next level and like, I don't know, make my kids animal shapes for their pancakes for breakfast. Like, that's cool, right? But the key is, what can you do? Do what you can. And then trust the next generation behind you to do what they can. I mean, I can't, this sounds a little bit ridiculous, but I really mean it. I am so curious what my kids are going to tell me when they grow up about what they wished I had done differently, because they're going to see things about my patterns that I just couldn't see, and they're going to have feedback about, here's what I'm doing differently with my kids because of the ways that I think you flubbed. How cool is that? They're going to improve, and their kids are going to improve on them, and like, so on and so forth it goes.
I'm feeling so positive about rearing kids now. I'm feeling so inspired. Everything you're saying is like got so much possibility to it. It's great. I love it. It's like I just can't wait for the book to come out, and I'm definitely excited about putting this into practice. So to recap, what were the four stages, or what was the kind of bow on
Yep,
it
four
for everybody?
points.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to light up, show up, listen up, and make up.
Mm.
Put that on your mirror. Get out a little erasing marker or whatever. Light up, show up, listen up, make up. This is the core of returning to connection. in our relationship with our children. And if they experience that with us, I mean, imagine if you had experienced that. You know, some of you did, a lot of you didn't. 50-50 is kind of the statistics right now. Half of us had secure experiences, half of us didn't. So, you know, that process of like, oh wow, if I had always felt wanted, wow, if I had had a caregiver who knew how to apologize to me and make a repair and get back on the tracks, oh my gosh. If I had a caregiver who actually cared what I had to say or what I thought or what my perspectives were, holy Moses, right? If I had a caregiver who was there for me in the moments that mattered most, holy Moses, right? And so just keep coming back to that. Use it as sort of a wire. I mean, I have to do this every day. I want everyone to know this. I have been nerding out on this research for almost 2 decades. I have been practicing. I mean, there are people who know it better than I do, but probably not a bunch of them. And I still have to anchor myself in these things. I mean, I wrote this book as much for myself and my children as I did for everybody else, because it takes a level of commitment to not get lost in all of the modern distractions that we have at our fingertips currently. So I'm coming back to it. Like, what really matters? What really matters? How can I get back to what really matters?
But that's really cool because you've distilled the stuff, like you said, that crazy title of that research or that study or that paper. And it's like, yeah, parents are busy, everyone's busy, and there's so much fighting for our attention that it's just so easy to get distracted. Whereas
Yes.
you're just saying, you've literally done this, lived it, made it, you've made it for yourself and your kids, but also for everybody else. And now you're sharing it. And it's like, if you just do this in those 4 stages, your life is going to dramatically improve, but your kids'
Yes.
lives
Yes.
are going to go exponential. Because
Yes. I want to acknowledge that the primary thing we offer our children is survival, and that not every caregiver is going to have the privilege that allows you to show up, light up, listen up, and make up. Because some caregivers are in situations where like the basic needs are not totally met, and so their focus has to be food, their focus has to be safety, right? Like, and that, you know, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, she just made that sound like it's so simple, this is not so simple, I've got this, I've got this, or, you know, I've got a whole, you know, inner nest of bats of my trauma that are constantly, you know, at me. You're not wrong. And that's why I said, do the best you can, do what you can. And don't compare yourself. This is not a comparison game. Do you do the best you can? And if the best you can is you keep your children alive, I'm so proud of you, because that means what you did was really amazing in the context that you were in. But if you do have some privilege and some safety and some means in your life, then you get to do these next steps. You get to be that part of the generational healing cycle. You do what you can. And don't beat yourself up for what you can't, because ain't nobody got time for that.
wow, I love it. This is just so good. This is just so good. This is music to my ears, but it's also resonating deeply because I knew once my wife shared your video, and everyone should go follow you on Instagram and just get into your stuff, go to your website, because you got courses, you got attachment quizzes. Like it's pretty exciting, the things that you've got for people to
Thank you.
do to actually discover more about themselves, more about their kids, and how to actually do the thing that they know deep down they want to do. They know, not even deep down, they know right away you want
Yes,
to
this
do
is
that
it.
thing, but then you've got
Yes.
life, and life is happening, and now you're giving people the answer to just simply simplify it all. And I like those 4 steps. I like the fact that, like, even if you just did the end one and you demonstrated how to make up after you've gone off track as the first bit, then you get that piece down. I can see how that would lead you to just doing the next one, and then you can kind of
Yes.
feel like you've made progress, and then your kids learn part of it. So really, really amazing stuff. I can so see how you've helped reinforce that strong foundation of connection, which is just so important in today's age.
Thank you. I love your openness and your enthusiasm. And I can just like, I can feel how much willingness there is to learn. And I mean, your boys are so lucky to have you as a dad.
I love being a dad, and what I love most is I want to get better. I'm ambitious in that sense of wanting to get better, but I actually want to do it because
Mm-hmm.
like I love the light up thing, right? That is like a magic, and it is a magic being, and it's a privilege to be a father and to be able to do that. But I know I got a room to grow, right? It's kind of like, I know I can get
Absolutely.
better, and it's like, I'm not good.
Yep.
I'm not aiming to get perfect, but there's room there to improve. So why not? Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, and it's good for our souls. You know, like as we offer our children these things, we feel better. You know, the world feels safer as you become a safer person in the world. Like that's just how that works. You want to make the world a safer place, you want to make the world a warmer place, become the things you wish the world was, right? And so I think there's such a gift to us as parents in learning these patterns as well.
Well, this conversation's been a gift, and thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom. How can people get in touch? How do you want people to connect with you? What should they do next?
Okay, so I'm running my mouth on Instagram and Facebook at Attachment Nerd. And you can go to my website, attachmentnerd.com, and there you can find my books and you can find some courses. I'm starting a secure parent program. I'm starting a 6-week program to help parents really kind of like nail in on this process. If you've struggled to kind of go, I get it, but I don't know how to apply it. So I have that program, and then you can buy my books wherever you buy books. So if you go to my website and you go to attachmentnerd.com/pre-order, you can also get pre-order goodies if you order it before September 3rd. But if you're beyond that point, you can still order the book, and you can find it on Amazon or wherever, and yeah, all over the internet.
I love it. I love that you're all over the internet. I'm going to try and help you get even more over the internet, because this is super important stuff. And I thank you once again. Very, very grateful for you joining us today.
Thank you for having me.